Okay, should we get started? Okay, so I have a personal question first. Who will put their hand up when I ask you to put your hand up? About 80%, okay. So who works in mobile or has done apps in the past? Okay, about 30, 40%, okay. That's just for me. So I'm Paul Blundell and I work at Novoda. We are a digital product agency and we try and deliver the best value for our clients through mobile apps and digital transformations. So we found through excellent communication, constant feedback loops, and the art of crafting, we deliver value for our partners over and over. So let's talk about, at Novoda, how we keep this level of craft up and what that means to share knowledge in our 40-plus engineers. That's 40-plus people rather than 40-plus age. Okay, so like Sandra was talking about, let's take a step back. So what is crafting? Craftsmanship isn't just a fancy title we throw around. It has purpose and meaning, and it allows us to explain in shorthand the dedication we put into our jobs. This has already been up, so I'm sure everyone recognizes this. The bit that I haven't put on here is it starts off with a bit of text that says, as aspiring software craftspeople, we are raising the bar of professional software development by practicing it and helping others learn the craft through the work we have come to value these different things. So this is our stake in the ground, and it's something we believe in. So I also want to look at the word. So if we break down the word software craftsmanship, we have software, crafts, man, and ship. And I've took some definitions from the internet. So software, this is what we do. This is what everyone does day to day. We'll come back to craft. Man represents a person of any gender. I could give a whole talk on that, but that's for another time. And ship, all of the above refers to skills that people possess. So craft. Craft is where all the juicy stuff is in this statement. You have to remember crafting was around well before the term software craftsmanship was coined. So it involves actively involving skills. And so interesting that it says by hand. Technically we use our hands, but I'm not sure if copy and paste is by hand. The skills involved, so we need a bag of skills, always learning, collecting more skills together. And a traditional or non-mechanized way. So there is a thought process, a bespokeness about what we do, and every deliverable is different. And members of a skilled profession, so this is about sitting together, learning together, being part of something like this. And Freemasons, so sure everyone wants to be in a cult, I guess. Yeah, so the biggest takeaway is about sitting together and going on a journey together. This talk of craftness, learning skills, going on a journey is what encompasses crafting and what we see as value. The journey of a craftsman can be difficult and it's never ending. And if you aren't conscious of your learning, it can feel like it's desert in all directions. You aren't sure which ways to turn. Your days can be full of hard work and your days can be full of sweating. So the slide here shows an example of some complex code, or complex at first glance. You know, it's hard to see what's going on until you get really stuck in. So we work on complex things, and we have to explain these complex things to others, and we have to interpret these things to understand what they mean. And we can feel, hasn't all this been done before? And then your journey can be full of tears. So something's broken, but why is it broken? Can you see why? Can you understand why it's broken? And if it doesn't work, can you explain to others why it doesn't work? So you can think, hasn't all this been done before? And why isn't it working this time? So these are the challenges that come with our journey. We're constantly learning as individuals. We have to communicate with other developers alongside us. And we have to inherit knowledge from others, living and codified knowledge. And we have to communicate with non-technical people in a way that they understand. But it's also a journey of joy. Everyone loves seeing this, right? It's a great feeling when all your tests are green, all that confidence that your code base is doing what you expect it to do. And it's a journey of discovery. It's quite exciting learning, playing with something new, sharing and understanding with others. So here I imagine they're digging for gold under this tree, right? So this is like me and my Android apps, but they haven't found any, and I don't seem to find it either. And your journey is about knowledge acquisition. So do you see how excited Neo was in The Matrix when he learned Kung Fu? And whilst we don't learn quite that fast, you should find it enjoyable and rewarding to learn. And I'm not comparing you all to Neo, but you may be the one. So. And your journey should be about professional growth. Me being here on stage, this is growth for me, and a step forward in my career and my crafting path. You should always be looking to grow and asking yourself, what is your next step? And I did Photoshop myself into the top row for the context here. So. I wasn't quite your headline speaker yet. So these are the rewards and successes that come with our journey. We're constantly getting more personal skills and more capabilities. Every time we grow, things we did previously become easier as situations become less stressful. You can have a better work-life balance. Look at where you were and look at where you've come from and the ease that you can do certain tasks now. You're growing your bag of skills, and this gives you more opportunities and more prospects. This is a continuous journey, and learning that has evolved is yours and yours alone. Nobody comes to a job knowing everything. We have different strengths and weaknesses, knowledge in some areas and not in other areas. And throughout your journey, you're learning new things, and you have to adapt to those changes. So what you have to remember is everyone is the same. We have this psychological condition that makes us feel as though everyone else knows more than us. But as the diagram shows here, on the right is what we think it is, but on the left is reality. Everyone knows some things, and everyone else knows other things, and there's an overlap where you can have a conversation. But it's not that you know a subset of someone else, it's that you have different skills and capabilities. So we want this journey for everyone at Novoda, and we want to encourage the learning and have a path through our company. So, the one thing that isn't in the definition of craft is pragmatism. And we value crafting, but we also value pragmatism. Pragmatism is about understanding the goal and getting there without delay. So sometimes it comes into conflict with craftsmanship, but it should be a tool, it should be something you know and something you can learn. So whilst I believe in craftsmanship, I also believe in pragmatism and shipping value. Pragmatism is a skill that you have to learn, taking a step back and saying, what are we talking about? What is the aim? And what I'm doing aligned with what I'm aiming for? So compromise, discussion, decision-making, and understanding the bigger picture can all be seen as pragmatic behaviors. Value is the most underrated word in a team environment. If you walk around saying to everyone, what is the value in that? You'll go far. And a quick mention about job titles. So we used to have job titles, junior developer, mid developer, senior developer. And a mid developer, what even is that? What does it mean to be halfway between junior and senior? Are you defined by your job title? Should you be defined by your job title? And do you even care what your job title is, I think is the point. So at Novoda, we wanted to shift this perception of job titles from a box that you are stuck in to a continuous journey. Learning to be an apprentice, journeyman, and master in different subjects and different areas. So it's not that you are a master, you have a mastery of a skill or a part of your job. And so we split these up into different learnings, and maybe we look at our skills matrix for what people are strong in and what they aren't. And junior, mid, senior doesn't mean anything anymore in a conversation, except when we bill our partners, because external people still put value on them, and it's quite hard to explain for now anyway. We have to still use them. But we wanted to change the idea and the concept internally. We wanted to change the question from, are they junior to me, into what can I learn from them? And this improves the atmosphere, the spirit, and the aims of discussions. It shifts mindsets, and it allows learning to thrive. So becoming an apprentice, journeyman, or master in any technology or skill is up to you. The journey is yours. You choose to learn and develop what knowledge you want. And everyone is on this journey of learning. Everyone has different skills and knows different things that are going on. You define your path, and again, because everyone has different skills, this is why it comes to this on the right, what you know and what other people know. A big part of your journey to hone your skills is to be able to explain what you're doing to other people. Explaining why you're doing something is harder than doing it. And mentoring is one way you can level up, helping other people when you explain to them. And we find not everyone wants to be a mentor, and not everyone is good at being a mentor, but it's another potential step on your journey, another skill that you can have in your repertoire. So on the back of all this, it's really important to have a career path. You have a journey through a company, but your career path is made up of multiple journeys. And you need your own direction and your own aims. So ask yourself some of these questions. What are you interested in? Where do you see yourself in 1, 2, or 5 years? And what can you improve on? Set yourself to-dos over longer time periods and control your own journey. And how can the company help? So like Sandro was saying about professionalism, what can you do to learn yourself, and what can you ask your company for, but in terms of giving back skills? So, you know, if your company knows you're interested in a certain area of learning, then when the opportunity comes up, you'll be the one picked, rather than saying, I want to go learn about this, oh, but the company doesn't do that. So try and blend with the company to see how you can have a shared path. So this is where the NCU comes in. We've created the Novoda Craftsmanship University to help people with the journey. And this is the company trying to support the individual's learning and their journey through our company. So let's break it down. Your company should be helping you with your journey. They can give you options and opportunities and opinions and a choice of directions. But remember this image. Employees can take this journey together, helping support one another, learning and teaching, and improving as a cult, as a team. So what is the NCU? This is our guidebook to help people begin and continue their journey. It's an attempt to show learning from multiple different aspects and help direct and show different learnings and how they can happen in different areas. So our NCU has 5 modules, and each targets a different learning area. We set it out in a very target-orientated manner, and we'll come back to some of these points of the good and the bad once I explain what's in each module. So first is the learning about platform and process. We want people to understand processes when they join the company, and this means learning how the teams collaborate over GitHub, using pull requests, comments, etc., and understanding the project layout and Novoda conventions and our best practices for coding style guidelines. We want people to take a fresh look at the platform they're going to be working on, and we ask them to implement a simple app or a library or a small feature. So what this means is each person tries to learn something they didn't know or refreshes old knowledge about the platform. They can do an online course like Udacity or Coursera. They can do a Google Code Lab for a new feature or anything else they want. We try to apply structure to say this is the area you should be learning in, but then leave it open for them to choose what they want. And in our first module, we also get them to read clean code and share back some insights or knowledge they have acquired. So we find clean code a real handbook for our developers, and even though it's not mobile orientated, the principles and the principles still apply. Yeah, so writing code and reading other people's code is really a major part of a developer's day. Statistics indicate that reading other people's code occupies a larger percentage than actually writing code. So why do we want people to get really good at writing code? Well, this is to help other people. So if you're really good at writing code, it helps everyone else it's much easier for everyone else to read it. And so I said they have to read clean code and give some type of feedback. So we have hack and tells. And a hack and tell is where a person gives a brief talk, 10 to 20 minutes, about what they have learned. And the whole company is invited to come along and it's recorded as well for those that can't make it. And the idea is twofold. First, it encourages that person to share their learning and learn how to explain what they have learned. And it also encourages others to seek out learning and be enthused by what they see. So other people say, oh yeah, I forgot about that, or oh, that's a really interesting area. And it really shares the learning around and shows people what is out there. So whilst Module 1 emphasised platform knowledge and platform coding strategies, different programming languages have their own set of practices and standard conventions. So Module 2 is around our best practices. So the first task in this module is to read one or more books from a list at Novoda, consider best languages specific programming books. And we have a buddy system for discussing what book would be appropriate. So your buddy is someone that takes you through the NCU, helping you on your journey, and it's just there for feedback and being able to answer questions. So here where we're asking to read a book, I'll come on the next one, we have a list of a fair few, and they'll have that discussion of, what do you want to learn, or which direction do you go, or what do you already know, and what benefits can you get here. So we asked that person to take a learning from the book and enact a change on one of our projects or open source repositories. So this encourages code reading as well as refactoring and cleaning up. And when they've done that, they make a pull request, which is open for other developers in the company to be able to review what they've done and, again, share more feedback on that. And finally, in Module 2, we asked the person to take part in a coding kata. So coding katas were explained before, so I don't need to do that. But they're run by the buddy instead of the individual. And this shows them the process and how katas go about and how you can organize one. And it just gets them involved in that first step of learning. So some of the books for Module 2 include Effective Java and Kotlin in Action. And Kotlin and Java are the Android languages at the moment. And because Swift is such a fresh language, there aren't so many classic books. So we take our Swift list with a pinch of salt. But yeah, we have like Functional Swift, which is a really good book. Yeah, so a coding kata is an exercise which helps programmers hone their skills through practice and repetition. I'm sure everyone understands this. And then Module 3. So code written for consumer applications is not a static entity. Requirements and designs often change. And midway through development, and even when they don't, there's no guarantee that the code is going to be bug-free. So no matter how experienced and knowledgeable the developers are, there's always going to be bugs. So in light of this realization, we were asking two questions. How do we write code that is as bug-free as possible? And how do we write code that can account for design changes, stay clean, maintainable, and understandable? So testing. So testing is Module 3 of the NCU. So here we have Nat's book. So good plug. Yeah, so growing object-oriented software guided by tests. Although it's not mobile-orientated, it's a great intro into the different steps for testing an application and thinking of the different levels. And then The Coding Dojo by Emily Bach. I'm never sure if it's Bach or Bach, but I'm going to go with Bach because it's easier for me. Beige. So this is a really great book, and it has a lot of examples of coding katas. But it doesn't just have examples of what to do for the coding kata. It also discusses how to set up the space and organize the event and get the best learning for the people there. It's a really good book. And Module 4. So there is one aspect of true software craftsmanship that's not being addressed, and being part of a team. So large projects are generally far too complex to be developed in isolation and involve a team of people with various responsibilities from different departments, and sometimes even from different organizations. So at Novoda, we try to always explain we don't do agile, we are agile. And this means being flexible in our approach and offering value rather than just offering an inflexible solution. So this module is really hard to put across. We've come up with a list of books that attempt to convey our agility, but I really feel this is the module where it constantly changes, and I'd like to always be adding new books here. We also asked them to run a retrospective in this module and a workshop. So running a retrospective allows them to take a step out of their normal role and see how a team acts from the other side and get involved in the agility aspects of the projects. Yeah, so here are the books. So I'll point out two: Scrum, A Breathtakingly Brief and Agile Introduction. This is 50 pages and has about 4 or 5 words on each page. So it doesn't take long to read this, but it really conveys what that reactivity is and agility. And the other one is The Nature of Software Development by Ron Jeffries. So this cuts to the chase about what I'm trying to say about value. Do your processes and practices bring value? And if they don't bring value, then why do you do them? It's a really good book. Okay, so a workshop. So a workshop is a flexible meeting. Workshops are group discussions, usually with a specific methodology or expected outcome. And typically, these aim to define, clarify, or spread knowledge about aspects of a product being developed. So for example, a workshop could involve a prioritization session for your backlog, or it could be a brainstorming with the 5 whys about a specific problem and how you can find a resolution for that. So we believe each of our engineers should have the skills to be able to run one of these meetings, to be able to solve problems through collaboration and group discussion, rather than always flying solo. Module 5. So Novoda is a service provider. We craft products and provide guidance based on our partners' briefs and experience, and our own mobile experience. So our clients will generally have greater knowledge of their domain and how their products work, and we have the expertise of the platform and the ecosystem that they wish to target. So this requires constant communication on the client's needs, internal demands, potential solutions and trade-off, and everyone knows communication is hard. So a software crafter will have their knowledge of coding, testing, learning SDKs and platform specifics, but we're now expecting them to give effective explanations, use appropriate language for the audience that they are addressing, and present written and spoken communications in a positive manner to partners and colleagues. So it's important that we can have discussions around technical problems together, understand other people's views, and contribute constructively. Wrong way. Yeah. So we have a choice of books for Module 5. And I'm always interested in new titles here because it's around professionalism. And we have Sandro's book that describes professional behavior in your career. And we have Getting to Yes, which allows people to do conflict resolution. And so, you know, as developers, you're always learning, like Sandra was saying, XP crafts and how to do technical things. But really, you should also be learning how to explain yourself, how to put things across to clients, and how to explain the value of these crafts that we have. And we did come across a lot of problems where people would either not argue together, but have heated conversations together. And on both sides, they were only talking about what their passion was, not what the value or the outcome was, and they were not listening to people. So we're really trying to improve people's communication and how you put yourself across. And the other part of this module is a reflection on past behavior. So we've identified some common scenarios where communication issues can occur. And we ask people to consider these in their own context and their own experience. Think about how you might adapt your approach and develop your communication skills in the future. So the proposing alternatives, aka saying no, we have a lot of partners that come to us and say, you know, we want an application and we want it next week. And the answer to there is no, that's not. The answer is not, no, it's not possible. The answer is, yeah, we can do that, but we might have to drop 90% of your features. Or, yes, we can start to do that, but the deadline will realistically be 2 months rather than a week. And so it's about changing your communication to adapt to other people. So one more point. Each of our chapters have references to the previous work completed by the students. These show potential ideas, but also the NCU is a collaborative effort, and this shows where others have been and where you are. So we have this page after every module, and people can see who has previously completed this and what the ideas are. And those links aren't public. But I only saw one picture get taken, so it's fine. It's fine. So that's all of the modules completed. Completion is celebrated, and everyone is notified when someone completes the NCU. We do have like a little celebration gift when people complete it, but it's not stated at the beginning that you'll get a prize or something when you complete the NCU, because we don't want to be reward driven and people thinking, okay, if I get to the end of this, I'm going to get an awesome phone or whatever. It's like you get to the end, and then we look at what they've done in the time frame they've done it, and we try and reward that. So it's not carrot and stick, it's surprise reward. But the more people that complete the NCU, the more like, well, he got this, what am I going to get? So we're going to have to figure that one out. So when trying to make complex and iterative mobile products, it's one thing knowing what to do, but it's another thing teaching it to others. Mobile is a young field. I've been doing it for 8 years, and I think Android's been around 8 or 10 years. Some best practices have now been established, but there's a constant evolution in the approach. With writing the NCU down, we found 2 issues. We had to define what best practices are for us, and we had to cement these beliefs. And then we had to maintain this documentation and ensure that it's kept up to date. So it's extra overhead for us, but we find it's worthwhile for new starters. And building Android and iOS products can be like working on 2 separate islands. However, at Novoda, our cross-platformness works in terms of architecture decisions and discussions of the domain. So we allow, iOS do it in Swift, we do it in Java, and we're never looking at that cross-platform solution where you make one code base. We're more trying to make it that when you make your own code base, what are the architectural decisions that are happening there, and can they be parallel across both platforms, so that when you are talking about the domain, the solution is the same on both platforms. So creating the NCU for Android and iOS wasn't a perfect process. The different teams seem to have different cultures. Learning was gone about in a bunch of different ways, and best practices across platforms aren't at the same level, so it's really hard to find that balance. This is an ongoing challenge for us. We're taking feedback and iterating, but it's always important to look at the bigger software picture, and I'm trying to look at the bigger picture for the NCU, so making sure I haven't took the wrong abstraction too early so that we can't back out of it. So, maybe even the modularity doesn't work across both things, but we're just trying to figure that one out. So when we first created the NCU, we kept it loose, and it was a spoken effort, loosely defined and verbally given. Some people really enjoyed it, the learning, the introduction to our processes. However, some people fed back that they wanted more structure, more definition. They wanted a checklist to work from. They wanted to know the reasons behind each module, and they wanted to make sure they didn't miss any of the awesome potential learnings to be had. So what did we do? That's when we created the booklet. We gave it more structure. We gave it a path to follow. We have the reading list, and we have checkboxes at each stage of the work to keep track of everything. And so this went on for a while, and then people fed back again. And people fed back that it was too rigid, too tightly coupled, too stringent, read this exact book, do this exact point. And it was never meant to be this way. It's a guide to learning, but the fact that we made it a physical item, a book that we give to people, people felt that they couldn't move off that path, and they had to do what it explicitly said. And at the end of the day, throughout this process, the NCU is what you make it. There is a rigid booklet for those that want instruction, but there is no downside to going off the path. We let people change the books, investigate anything, run it the way they want to. For example, some people watch videos instead of reading a book, or speak to their buddy and find some other way to learn rather than what's in our checklist. So learning is fun, and we want to try and keep it that way. So what do we still have to improve in the NCU? This discussion about fluidity of learning versus rigidity, it really needs some thought. And our next iteration is guilds internally. So guilds are groups of people that have similar interest in a technology or a platform. For example, we do have Android and iOS guilds. We have a machine learning guild, data science guild, IoT guild, and security guild. And so this is a way people can come together and talk about what they enjoy. And maybe the NCU should reflect this. Maybe it should be guilds instead of modules. Maybe each guild should feed into what the best practices are for that part. And so, yeah, we're just trying to figure that one out. And right now, people feedback to me the changes to expand the NCU. And it very much is a bottleneck. So I want people to feel that they can change it and somehow vote on changes and push things through and say, you know, that's not our best practice anymore, let's do this. So we're working on that. And we need to increase the flexibility and involvement in the material creation. People have started to ask for digital tracking, setting goals and targets, and then breaking down these problems into smaller chunks. So we're also looking at that. So crafting isn't just hype. Business people want it as well. Businesses want people who have quality, and they want people who give value. Involve your company on your journey. Let them know your aims and your goals. And also measure your impact. Show how your crafting processes, your practices, and your values help the business succeed. So when you succeed, your company succeeds. So just feedback and tell them, I'm doing craftsmanship, and this is the value, and our project is on time, and that's because we're doing this. People need to know that, and that's how a business will incorporate and be like, okay, we need to grow this. So at Novoda, we believe in quality, and this quality is the quality of its developers as well as everything else. So therefore, your career path is important to Novoda, and if you do well, the company does well. Thank you. Any questions? I think we have to wait.
So you talked right at the end about measuring the impact that craft has. Mm-hmm. Can you give us some examples of how you can do that?
So this is something at the team level that we are working on, and there is no hard and fast answer. I think on an individual level, like I was hinting at, it's about hitting deadlines and maybe crash rate in production and how the bug level is lowering and less being raised, things like that. I think also a tool we are looking at is called Git Prime, which does some data munging on your repositories and comes out with times to 100 lines of code and rework that happens on your code base, like the number of times a line of code is rewritten. And so you can take hard statistics like this at the team level. And I think if you want individual stats, it's more about, you know, how do you fit into your team? What value do you bring there? Does that answer it?
Cool, yeah, thanks. Yeah. I'll check out Git Prime as well.
Yeah, it's hard. We find it really hard to measure the value of crafting as well, so something we're also interested in, yeah.
Cheers.
No more questions? Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, cheers.